Hi, James. We know that spiraling government debt is a massive issue and one of the reasons that we all Bitcoin. This debt acceleration seems to have started around the early 2000s. So, my question is, what are they spending it all on that they weren't before? And how come governments could live more within their means in previous decades and maintain debt to GDP ratios of around 40 to 50%? Obviously, paying back this debt now accounts for a fair amount of the spending, but what is the rest going? Actually, they're not paying the debt back. They just keep putting things on the credit card. They are never going to pay that debt back. So let's try to explain what has happened. First of all, shout out to debt, 37 trillion in the US. And by the way, even though this is a US chart of the US debt that just broke 37 trillion this week, it applies to every country in the world. Every country is built on debt. All right. This is not an isolated chart. Now, what are some of the reasons for this? Let me turn off my camera. First of all, after World War II, there was a lot of growth, very growth. There was a lot of tech advances. There was the internet, etc. And that all helped reduce debt. We'll talk more about how that could happen again, theoretically. But in the 2000s, everything rose sharply because there was a lot of tax cuts. There was a lot of increase in spending. There was a lot of increase in healthcare, a lot of aging population. There was a lot of crises like the GFC, global financial crisis, 2008, 2009. And then we had C-19 in 2020. And that all is like governments are like just spending, like money was going out of fashion. Just throw it on the burner. And then deficits right now, 2 trillion and growing. Debt to GDP was, you're correct, 40 to 50%. And now it's 130% and going higher. But the future outlook is absolutely horrifying. That's why I make videos, okay? 37 trillion, 2 trillion deficit. In a year, this debt will be 39 trillion, maybe $40 trillion, okay? That is absolutely insane. If you imagine there's only basically 50 million people in the US that pay taxes of any decent nominal amount, 50 million people, they are the ones that have to try and service that nearly 40 trillion in debt. The numbers are astounding. Okay. Again, as I say, if the US was a company, it would have been taken out the back and shot many years ago. Okay. Dead, bankrupt, toast. Nobody would lend it money. And we're seeing some of that happen right now where nobody is lending the US money, which means the treasuries aren't selling unless the interest rate is high. Interest rate in debt currently is 3.3%, but it's going to explode to 4.5%. This is the big fight going on, which will grow the interest payment on debt to 1.7 trillion from 1.25 trillion right now. And therefore deficits will grow. And even though entitlements have been growing, they're going to expand even further. This is what I refer to as the UBI world. Okay, all over the world, the majority of humans in a country will be dependent on universal basic income. Okay, more than 50% in some way or another will be dependent on the government. And these people will vote a certain way that pays them the most benefits. And this will expand the debt. And this will bring huge long-term fiscal stress. And I am painting a very ugly picture, but anybody with 2 brain cells knows what's coming. It is horrific out there. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is absolutely brutal. Let's go back and look at this chart one more time. Brutal. Okay? There is no escaping this unless we go back to post-World War II. The only hope hinges on AI, automation, ASI, humanoid robots, etc. But even with a huge amount of explosion and growth in GDP, the debt is growing at probably a faster rate. We're at the point of no return. US is on a path to death. Doge, the swamp killed Doge. The interests wanted it done, and that's why it was a very dark time so far this year for people like Elon Musk and company. The government does not want to stop spending money. It will never stop. The only way out is extreme growth, which will probably be impossible to escape this matrix. This is why we Bitcoin. Yorkshire pudding, I think. Thank you for the question. Sorry for painting such a grim picture. But be in hard assets, everybody. Don't hold cash. And that UBI future is coming, and that's only going to accelerate with AI and ASI.